God have mercy upon you. Mr. Bates, take Mr. Pike into the house.
Can I please have my mom before I go?
Mr. Bates, please hold Miss Pike in the dock.
Please, let me just love my mom.
Please hold Miss Pike in the dock.
I love you. I love you too.
The morning of Friday the 13th, police recovered Slemmer's tortured body behind the abandoned steam plant at the University of Tennessee. Within one day, they arrested Job Corps students Shadola Peterson, Daryl Shipp, and Christa Pike.
She was the ringleader out of the bunch.
Pike and Shipp were in a relationship with each other and the occult, and recruited other Job Corps students to Satanism. Pike targeted Slemmer after the two had a run-in at school. The trio led Colleen where nobody could hear them, and then watched Christa Pike torture her for 45 minutes before finally killing her.
What makes an 18-year-old girl plan a murder so cruel it haunts a state? What turns obsession into torture and jealousy into a weapon? On a cold night in January 1995, two young women walked into the woods behind the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. One thought they were finally going to settle a conflict. The other, Christa Pike, had already told classmates she planned to kill. Minutes later, the quiet of the trees erupted into screams. By sunrise, 19-year-old Colleen Slemmer was dead, and Pike was showing students a piece of her skull. The brutality shocked Tennessee, and the killer became the youngest woman sentenced to death in the United States. This is the case of Christa Gale Pike, where teenage envy turned into one of Tennessee's darkest crimes. But before we dive into her shocking crime and eventual death sentence, we need to go back to where this nightmare truly began. To our amazing subscribers, thank you for standing with us through every heartbreaking case. And if you're new here, subscribing and liking the video is completely free, but it goes a long way in helping this channel reach more viewers who care about justice and truth. You're watching Verdict Vault. Stay with us for more stories that matter. Before she ever stepped onto the Job Corps campus in Knoxville, Christa Pike's life was already marked by instability. Her childhood was shaped by neglect, parental drug abuse, and a revolving door of temporary caregivers. Her mother reportedly struggled with addiction, and her father was largely absent. By her early teens, she was skipping school, experimenting with drugs, and bouncing between homes. At age 18, searching for structure, Pike enrolled in Job Corps, a federal vocational program designed to help at-risk youth. The Knoxville campus was meant to give her a fresh start. Instead, it became the setting of a nightmare. Life at Job Corps was tense for many students, but Pike's time there escalated quickly into paranoia and jealousy. She became romantically involved with Daryl Shipp, a 17-year-old student. Court testimony shows that Pike and Shipp had a volatile, obsessive relationship, one rooted in control and insecurity. Then there was Colleen Slemmer. Colleen was new to the campus, quiet, friendly, and trying to focus on her future. But Pike became convinced, without evidence, that Colleen was trying to steal her boyfriend. Multiple witnesses later testified that Pike began stalking Colleen and threatening her, telling friends she wanted to hurt Colleen. Colleen repeatedly asked for help. She even wrote to staff requesting a different roommate because Pike's harassment was too much. According to court documents, she told a friend, "Christa Pike hates me. I don't know why." But nothing could have prepared her for what would come next. If the staff had acted faster, could this entire tragedy have been prevented? How many warning signs get ignored simply because no one believes a victim is in real danger? On January 12, 1995, Pike approached Colleen with a sudden change of tone. She claimed she wanted to settle things, to talk, to make peace. Colleen reluctantly agreed. She hoped this would be the end of the bullying. But Pike wasn't coming alone. Shipp was there. Shadola Peterson, another student, tagged along silently and would later become the state's key witness. What none of them said out loud was this. Earlier that same day, Pike had bragged, "I'm going to kill her." Together, they led Colleen into the woods. She would not walk out again. What happened in the woods has been described by investigators as one of the most sadistic murders in Tennessee history. Once deep into the woods, Pike turned on Colleen almost immediately. She shoved her to the ground and began beating her. Shipp joined in, holding the victim down. They slashed her with a box cutter. They kicked her, bludgeoned her, and taunted her. At one point, Pike reportedly carved a symbol on Colleen's chest, a pentagram, though medical examiners debated how deep it truly was. Throughout the attack, Colleen begged for her life, told Pike she didn't do anything to her, told her she just wanted to go home. Finally, Pike lifted a large chunk of asphalt, described in police testimony as weighing over 20 pounds, and brought it down on Colleen's skull with full force. The impact was so violent that it left a deep indentation in the ground. Court documents describe massive skull fractures, brain trauma, and defensive wounds that proved Colleen fought for her life until the end. According to the Tennessee Supreme Court's recounting of the facts, based on physical evidence, confessions, and testimony, the assault lasted at least 30 minutes, maybe longer. In one of the most chilling details of the case, Pike kept a piece of Colleen's skull. She carried it back to campus in her jacket pocket and showed it to several students, bragging about the killing.
If cases like this make you question humanity, don't let Colleen's voice fade into silence. Say something below, even if it's just her name. The next morning, Colleen's body was found by UT grounds workers. The scene was horrific, but the evidence trail was unmistakable. Pike didn't deny what happened. In fact, she confessed quickly, first to friends, then to investigators. Police reports entered into trial show Pike saying, "We just finished the job. She shouldn't have messed with me." She handed over the piece of skull. She reenacted parts of the crime, and she never showed remorse, at least not initially. The prosecution charged Pike with first-degree murder and conspiracy, and the case moved rapidly to trial. During the 1996 trial, Pike's defense tried to argue diminished capacity, pointing to her traumatic upbringing, possible mental health disorders, and alleged belief in occult practices. But the jury was unconvinced, largely because of her detailed confession, physical evidence matching witness accounts, the taking of the skull fragment, testimony from Peterson describing Pike as the ringleader.
As she was slashing her, she was still saying, let me go, I'll go home, I won't tell nobody." And they hacked and cut and slashed.
Authorities say she was then beaten over the head with a large chunk of asphalt from this pile.
There was 2 pentagrams carved on her body, one on her forehead and then the main one here.
York says the interrogation of Pike was as chilling as the crime.
During the interview, she's very giddy, laughed, very cooperative. She wanted to tell us all about it, but she was giddy. It was a happy thing for her. It was the greatest thing ever, and I've never seen anybody else like that, like her, actually.
Not only did prosecutors have a cheerful confession, police found a keepsake from the killing.
She had a piece of the skull wrapped up in a napkin in her coat pocket. That's a trophy. It showed that that piece she had fit exactly as a piece of puzzle.
On March 30th, 1996, the jury returned a guilty verdict. She was sentenced to death, making her the youngest woman on death row in the United States at that time. Shipp, a minor, received life in prison. Peterson received probation for cooperating. Do you believe the death penalty was the appropriate punishment in this case? Or does Pike's age complicate the issue? Pike's time behind bars was far from quiet. In 2004, Pike attempted to kill another prisoner, Patricia Jones, by strangling her with a shoelace. Jones survived only because officers intervened quickly. The incident was documented in a federal case filed afterward. This attack added to the state's argument that Pike remained a danger even in custody. Then, in 2012, Pike was implicated in an escape plot involving a former correctional officer. The Tennessee Department of Correction told reporters that Pike was allegedly planning to break out of the Tennessee prison for women with help from the officer, who was later arrested. These incidents damaged her appeals and reduced sympathy among those questioning the death penalty. If a person continues violent behavior even behind bars, is rehabilitation still possible? For nearly 2 decades, Pike appealed her conviction and sentence on grounds including childhood trauma, mental health disorders, ineffective counsel, unconstitutional sentencing. But the Tennessee Supreme Court repeatedly upheld her sentence. The U.S. Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals did the same in later rulings. Human rights groups argued Pike's childhood and age should be mitigating factors. Still, courts maintained that the brutality of the murder outweighed these circumstances. In 2023, after years of legal delays, the state of Tennessee moved forward with Pike's death warrant. Her execution was officially set for August 19, 2026. Barring new appeals or intervention, Pike will be the first woman executed in Tennessee in nearly 200 years, and the only woman currently on the state's death row. Through all the legal battles and public discussion, one person is often overshadowed: Colleen Slemmer. She was only 19. She wanted to make something of her life, and she repeatedly tried to get help to escape harassment. Her mother, May Martinez, has spoken publicly over the years, saying the pain never leaves and that the brutality of the crime haunts her every day. For her family, Pike's execution is not justice, it's closure. Christa Pike's story forces a difficult question. Can someone who committed unspeakable violence at 18 ever truly be redeemed? Or are their crimes so cruel, so intentional, that redemption becomes impossible? Unless the courts intervene, the state of Tennessee will carry out her execution in 2026, closing one of the darkest chapters in the state's criminal history. No matter the outcome, the memory of Colleen Slemmer, her fear, her suffering, her stolen future, remains the center of this tragic story. This case is disturbing, and I want to know how you feel about it. Comment your thoughts. Don't stay silent on this one. Thank you for watching Verdict Vault. Until next time, stay thoughtful, stay compassionate, and keep seeking the truth.